Did you know that every single American football game, on average, results in over 80,000 pounds of waste? The NFL might know how to score touchdowns, but when it comes to sustainability, it's time to step up the playbook. With waste stacking higher than a Hail Mary pass and emissions rivaling a full season's worth of road games, football's environmental impact can't be ignored. Hey everyone, it's Amber from Sustainable Jungle, where we share sustainability tips, tricks, hacks, products, brands, and stories to better our planet. And with Super Bowl Sunday right around the corner, I thought it would be the perfect time to tackle, pun intended, the topic of the impact of the football industry. Because American football is a deeply ingrained part of American culture, with its peak spectacle, the Super Bowl, drawing over 100 million viewers annually. And while the sport brings communities together and generates significant economic activity, it's also undeniable that it leaves a substantial imprint on the environment. And this is not meant to be a critique of football fans or even the game itself. It's just an exploration of how we can acknowledge the impact of something that is such a huge component of American life and how we can all work together towards a more sustainable future for the sport. And a celebration of, honestly, some really significant progress that's being made on that front. And real quick, to our global audience, I know that football refers to a totally different sport for you, but simply because I am talking about the Super Bowl and American football in this video, and we do refer to it as just football here, that's what I'm going to do throughout this video. So please, no need to tell me that that's not what football is for you. I do know. And last, before we try to tackle those last few rushing yards towards the goal line, just take a quick time out to like this video and subscribe to our channel down below so that you can stay in the know on all of our latest sustainability explorations. So, let's talk about the Super Bowl size challenges that are facing the industry, the first of which being stadium waste. Every single NFL game generates a staggering amount of waste. On average, over 80,000 pounds is generated per game, which adds up to 44.6 million pounds of waste per season across all of the stadiums, which is the equivalent of around 107 times the weight of every NFL player combined. And I mean, have you seen how big and muscly those defensive tackle guys are? A significant portion of this waste is single-use plastic, primarily the 2.6 billion plastic cups used annually in stadiums nationwide. So to visualize, that's enough to cover 4,000 football fields or fill the Empire State Building over 85 times. Now, these are often not recycled properly due to inadequate waste management systems at stadiums or just fans that don't really care. And on top of all that is the food waste. The 2020 Super Bowl was estimated as having the potential to create 40,000 pounds of food waste for that one event alone. And of course, that's not even including all the Super Bowl related events like tailgate parties, home Super Bowl parties, and those hosted at restaurants and sports bars. The 2017 Atlanta Super Bowl brought over 500,000 fans to the city, after which local food banks recovered 61,430 pounds of food, mainly from buffets that were curated for the event, and 77,154 pounds of beverages from game day events citywide. Waste aside, fan and team travel are significant contributors to football's carbon footprint. So for the current 2024-2025 season, projected emissions from travel alone are estimated at over 480,000 tons of CO2 equivalent. This is the equivalent of driving 1.2 billion miles in an average gasoline-powered vehicle, or what it takes to power almost 65,000 US homes for a whole year per the EPA's greenhouse gas equivalencies calculator. Super Bowl events with attendees flying in from all across the country exacerbate this issue, with flights accounting for the majority of these travel-related emissions. And let's not forget that Super Bowl Sunday is kind of synonymous with overconsumption. From the food waste that we already talked about to the disposable decorations and gadgets marketed through these high-energy ads, the environmental toll is steep. In 2021 alone, the Super Bowl advertising was responsible for carbon emissions equivalent to 100,000 Americans, or 2 million tons of CO2. And let's not forget that a lot of these ads are just asking you to buy, buy, buy. I mean, Temu became a thing in the US really after it had a Super Bowl ad, and all of a sudden everybody started shopping there to shop like a billionaire. And now we've seen what's happened with Temu, or if you haven't, please check out our video on it. The point is that the Super Bowl and all of its advertisement is basically just perpetuating this consumption culture. All right, so those are the Super Bowl party fouls we've got on the table, but now let's talk about some game-changing solutions. So while the environmental impact of American football is significant, rushing yards are being made across the industry to mitigate those effects. From zero-waste stadiums to carbon-neutral game initiatives, the sport is gradually embracing sustainability, including efforts done by the NFL itself. They're doing things like offsetting emissions from major events via renewable energy certificates and supporting local environmental projects in host cities, like planting trees, contributing to green spaces, creating community gardens, restoring habitats, things like that. Each year in the Super Bowl host community, they run a project called Super Kids Super Sharing, which puts books, sports equipment, and school supplies into the hands of local children in need. Their green initiative also includes intensive waste recovery efforts, such as hosting e-waste recycling events to recover valuable materials, and food donation partnerships that involve recovering wasted food from these major events and then redistributing it to local food banks and charities that serve people in need. Up to 140,000 pounds from major events like these Super Bowls. And these big events can also generate a lot of material waste like decor, fabric, carpet, and other building materials. And the NFL has been donating these to organizations like Habitat for Humanity, Salvation Army, schools, artist co-ops, all of that for years. And individual teams, apart from, being part of the NFL, are likewise increasingly partnering with eco-friendly brands to support merchandise made from recycled or sustainable materials. And then here are some more examples from individual stadiums that are also taking initiative. So first, we'll talk about the 2023 Climate Neutral Super Bowl in Phoenix, Arizona. So this was held at the State Farm Stadium, technically in Glendale, Arizona, but Phoenix sprawl, and it was marked with the milestone sustainability as the greenest Super Bowl ever. This was the Climate Neutral Super Bowl, and the NFL partnered with organizations like the Green Sports Alliance to minimize the event's carbon footprint. For it, the NFL invested in carbon offset programs, which included tree planting and renewable energy products to counterbalance 100% of the emissions from travel, energy use, and event operations. And while, as we've explored in the past, carbon offsets are not always the end-all be-all solution to our climate woes, they can still be meaningful, though I would say it would be great if we had access to what specific offsetting projects the Super Bowl invested in to see if they would actually qualify as being meaningful. Next, let's talk about the Philadelphia Eagles' Go Green initiative. I used to live in Philly. You Eagles fans are crazy about your football. I know that. But you're also crazy about the environment, which is great. So Lincoln Financial Field, which is the home to the Eagles, is a leader in sustainable stadium operations. The stadium is powered by over 11,000 solar panels and 14 wind turbines, which generate clean energy for its operations. They also run what's called a zero waste game day, through which they divert 100% of game day waste from landfills. In 2023, they converted 718.4 tons of waste into biomass energy. And a part of this is done by integrating really robust composting and recycling systems in the stadium to ensure that all organic and recyclable materials are processed correctly. Then we have the Atlanta Falcons' Mercedes-Benz Stadium, which houses 4,000 solar panels, which is enough to generate energy to power 9 NFL games annually. It also features a 2.1 million gallon stormwater management system that reduces the risk of flooding and helps conserve 47% of water that the stadium uses, and then diverts 90% of its waste from landfills on top of all that. So this actually made it the first stadium worldwide to achieve total resource use and efficiency, aka True Platinum certification. And they don't just recycle the aluminum collected from beverage cans, they actually use the money that they receive from cashing them in at recycling centers to build houses for those in need through Habitat for Humanity. But my personal favorite efforts by the stadium involve food, of course. So first, they have an edible garden outside, serving as their landscaping, which I think is awesome. They use this as a laboratory for STEM programs and the West Side Works culinary program. They also partner with Second Helpings Atlanta to donate unused food from the stadiums to those in need, and that has totaled 250,000 pounds of donated food so far. Okay, then there's the Levi Stadium of the San Francisco 49ers, which features a solar array that offsets its energy usage during games. And this was one of the first NFL stadiums to achieve LEED Gold certification. So if you're not aware, LEED is a sustainable building certification scheme, and there's different tiers. So platinum is the best, gold is the second best, then silver, bronze. And they earned this by incorporating eco-friendly design and energy efficient systems like recycled water for landscaping and cooling, which is also great because it conserves resources in drought-prone California. And then stadium aside, it's also just worth noting that the 49ers partnered with the United Airlines to become the first NFL team to purchase sustainable aviation fuel fuel, aiming to reduce the emissions from their team air travel. Okay, so speaking of LEED, let's also talk about US Bank Stadium for the Minnesota Vikings in Minneapolis. They became the first professional sports stadium to become LEED certified platinum, so highest tier above gold. And that was in 2018 when they hosted Super Bowl 52, and they achieved a zero waste status with 91% of waste diverted, and they were named the 2018 Innovator of the Year from the Green Sports Alliance for it. They've also powered the stadium for the last 5 years using 100% renewable wind energy credits and have reduced overall energy consumption by 10% through efficient lighting, which includes LED field lights, conservative use of energy-intensive equipment, and usage of natural daylight and heating and cooling benefits through its really unique roof structure. Plus, nearly all food packaging that comes from the concessions there is completely compostable, and of course, they offer composting collection services on site, so people actually do compost it. So this means that they've been able to divert most all of their waste from the landfill, which is something that is then turned into steam to heat other local buildings. They also ensure responsible water use by using industry-best low-flow water fixtures and stormwater collection systems that keep site runoff from flooding the surrounding area. On the whole, they've reduced their CO2 emissions by nearly 511,000 pounds and methane emissions by roughly 11,000 kilograms. Okay, and so this last one isn't actually football because Seattle's Climate Pledge Arena is primarily used for hockey and concerts, but I just wanted to mention it because as the world's first net zero certified stadium, I think it's important to highlight them as an example of what stadiums can do and what more of them could aspire to, regardless of what sports and events are actually played there. So this stadium runs on renewable energy and offsets any of its remaining emissions, and they also achieved a zero waste to landfill status, ensuring that all waste is recycled, composted, or converted into energy directly. The cool thing that I really like about what they do is that they use rainwater from the roof to make ice for the hockey team. Okay, so that's what the stadiums, the teams, the league, all that are doing. What about fans? What can we do to make a difference? Football brings joys to millions, and this isn't a discussion that's shaming fans or detracting from the excitement of the game. We all need to take our joy where we can find it, especially in these challenging times. And yes, for the most part, systemic changes at the league and stadium levels are what is ultimately needed to see real impact here, but that said, supporting your favorite teams and enjoying game day doesn't have to come at quite as heavy of an environmental cost for you personally either. So, here are some ways that fans can participate in game day a little bit more consciously. So, if you're hosting a Super Bowl party at your house in like a week, when the Super Bowl's happening, maybe consider swapping out single-use plates, cups, and utensils for reusable options. You probably have enough utensils for everybody, but if you don't have enough plates and things like that, maybe ask some of your friends and guests to just bring a plate for themselves. That way you don't get stuck with a whole bunch of dishes, and also you're not going to have to worry about curating and collecting all these reusable plates for all of your guests. To prevent food waste, avoid buying perishable items. So I know that like bean dips and things and 7-layer dips are kind of iconic for Super Bowl parties, but man, they go bad so quickly. So try to buy things that are going to last a little bit longer if it doesn't all get eaten, and plan the portions based on your guest count. And then if you do have any leftovers, try to compost them if you can. And obviously, beer is a huge element of football culture. So for this year's party, consider refilling reusable growlers from a local brewery instead of buying single-use cans and bottles. If that's not an option for you, at least be sure to try to recycle those containers when you're done, and be sure to set out proper bins so your guests know where to put them when they're done. So for instance, my town doesn't offer glass recycling, so I try to be sure that I buy cans of beer if I'm not buying a growler, since I can recycle aluminum here. And if you're going to a game in person, reduce travel emissions by taking advantage of public transit, carpools, or stadium shuttle services. Many stadiums even offer incentives for fans who choose greener travel options. Now, I get that this doesn't work if you're traveling really far, as in flying to see your team, but if you do that, you can consider offsetting the emissions of your flight if you're financially able to do so. Once you're at the stadium, if it's allowed, bring reusables like a reusable water bottle. Now, it is worth noting that some stadiums don't let you bring in outside food and drink, especially some of the really big major ones, and they don't even allow any non-clear receptacles at all, including bags. So in these cases, a clear water bottle is your safest bet, but most stadiums also have their own rules and policies listed online, so be sure to check there first so you know what your particular stadium allows. And of course, dispose of waste there correctly. So if the stadium offers recycling and compost bins for food and beverage waste, use them. Familiarize yourself with the signage or ask the staff if you're unsure of where to dispose of certain items. Most of them are going to be more than happy to help you out because that's a lot better than them then having to go through and sort things that were improperly placed in incorrect bins. And avoid impulse merch purchases. Maybe limit yourself to 1 or 2 pieces of memorabilia to remember the game by, but keep it in control. And no matter what kind of fan you are, whether you're casual or diehard, advocate for change. Let teams and stadiums know that sustainability matters to you. You can do this by something as simple as engaging with your favorite teams on social media to encourage greener initiatives, or telling your family and football watching friends about ways that they can help. And remember, as with all things in sustainability, the field goal is not perfection, it's just progress. Just like slowly pushing the ball down the field for that touchdown. But by integrating these small and meaningful actions into your game day rituals, you can still enjoy the thrill of football while also advocating for a bit of change. Every conscious choice counts, and as fans, you have the power to influence positive change both on and off the field. American football is here to stay, probably, obviously. Can't see the future, but I'm assuming. But its environmental impact doesn't have to be as overwhelming as it currently is. By supporting sustainable initiatives from zero-waste stadiums to renewable energy sources, we can ensure that the game that is so beloved to so many Americans doesn't come at the planet's expense. So let's tackle this challenge together and prove that sustainability and tradition can coexist on the field. So now it's your turn to let me know what you think on the matter. What are some things that you personally see as being the biggest sustainability stumbling blocks for the sport? And if you're a football fan, what are some things that you personally do to ensure you're cheering the industry in a more sustainable direction? Let me know in the comments down below. And finally, thank you all so much for watching this video. I hope you all enjoy Super Bowl Sunday, even if your team didn't make it in this year. I'm speaking as somebody who still doesn't even know whose teams are playing because we don't know yet at the time of this filming, but I wish you all the best if your teams are there. And remember to give us a like and a subscribe, and I will see you all here next week. Thanks for watching.